the University of Port Harcourt is still offering services to students. And I was curious, and I asked the young man, I was like, oh, what do you mean? I said, bros, see, in his house, he doesn't have power regulator, so he has to use his generator. His pocket money used to be 50,000 naira. Now he has to augment it. So what he does is he paints, right? He's now a painter, and he also does visual graphics, visual designs. That is how he augments whatever his mom and dad is able to give to him. Now his theory is, if he is struggling to do this at his own small scale, how exactly are the big schools providing power? Don't forget, some of these institutions are meant to be on quote-unquote the band A line. So that means the amount of money they would have been paying for regular power supply has probably gone up by 50, if not 100%. Yet, the school fees that people have been fighting and struggling for has probably not gone up too much. Now, maybe we're too far out. Let's come down to those of you who have children in private schools, right? Whether they're in, GRA, whether they're in Eliozu right now. Now, have you asked yourself, the proprietors of these schools, how much are they paying just to offer those services to you? So, your child comes to school, you've paid maybe 200,000 school fees, you expect there to be power, but grid has gone down. And so that proprietors go and purchase diesel or fuel. But fuel is about 1,200 naira per liter. How long would this person or persons continue to offer these services to you? Don't forget, because of the way things are, they are finding it just a tad bit difficult to increase the salaries of their students, of their teachers. Government teachers probably have it better off than some private teachers. No, this is not a fight now. But from what I gathered over the weekend, you have private teachers who are going to school these days and they're doing, listen to this, 3 extra jobs just to be able to pay transport to come to work. 3. They are teaching somebody in Eliozu. They leave Eliozu by 4. They come all the way down to GRA, all right, hopefully by 5:36. And then after about an hour or 2, right, they leave again and they go back to Rumodara. All of this they are doing 5 times a day. 5 times a week, I beg your pardon. 5 times a week. Where do they get to rest? So, ladies and gentlemen, my question to you is this. How can educational centers, primary, secondary, tertiary, how are they able to offer their services, which is education, with the rising cost of goods and services? It's not going to be a very funny conversation. It's one Port Harcourt that you have to have, because from Choba to Rumo.
Hello, Port Harcourt, with Jude on 92.3 Nigeriainfo.
017-923-0002, 0817923-0007, 0817923-0002, 0817923-0007. At Nigeriainfo PH, at Nigeriainfo PH is where you find us on Facebook and on X at Nigeriainfo PH, at Nigeriainfo PH. Our WhatsApp and Telegram number is 0809 030 6416, 0809 030 6416. Once again, please, when you call him, do well, turn down the volume of your radio set, refrain from making derogatory or defamatory comments. If you didn't see or hear, we encourage you not to make mention of it. And very importantly, keep your conversation. All right, so Andy here sent me a message. It says, good morning. It's very interesting you're talking about this, because I think the cost of living basically is affecting the cost of the education that people are offering. Teachers are no longer able to do what is expected of them. You expect a teacher to spend some time, particularly with those difficult children. But how much are they going to be able to make if they spend more time on one child? And so a lot of children are going to go uncatered for during this crisis, Andy says. So how do they do it? That's a very good point, Andy. There are difficult children. There are children who probably have dyslexia. There are some children who are, not every child learns at the same pace as the next child. Some are visual, some are auditory. So if a particular teacher is burdened by, the rising cost, the university is burdened by the cost of power, do you think they'll be able to focus on those little children or the minute number that needs special attention? Philip is in Imo State. Philip, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Jude.
Good morning, Philip. Welcome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this program. So I say let me call. I really commend Nigeriainfo.
Welcome.
Always I listen to your program. I just managed to get this number today. Let me confirm the number that from time to time I will be contributing to calling like this.
Well, you're most welcome, Mr. Philip.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Philip from Imo State. It's good to know that a lot of people are paying attention. This one here says, good morning. The parents are hearing it this period. Imagine books that used to be costing 2,000 and now costing close to 4,000 naira for exercise notes. But I think the problem we have, Jude, is that some of these schools themselves are not making things easier. They are trying their best to fleece the parents out of every naira that they have. Out of every naira. It's not easy to be in right now, particularly in Port Harcourt. And I cannot tell you the cost of transportation is cheaper in Imo or in Abia State, but for Port Harcourt, I know that it is not cheap. It is not cheap. Journeys of 100, 200 naira, are now 300, 350 and the like. I take a taxi or a tricycle every morning. And I'm seeing, it has always been there. Please don't get me wrong. It's always been there. But what I've observed is that more and more secondary school students and even primary school students are lapping each other. The lapping culture we have in this country. You pay for a seat, somebody sits on your lap and basically gets a free ride. Imagine going to class, study for whatever number of hours, and then covered with all the fights and arguments, hunger, whatnot, you still have to carry your brother or your sister on your laps for a trip home. If this isn't indicative of what people are dealing with, I honestly don't know how best to share this with you. Whether it's the universities, whether it's the polytechnics, whether it's the College of Education, all of these places right now are feeling the brunt. They are feeling the brunt of this quote-unquote interesting times. But are we asking ourselves the very big question? How is this affecting the quality? How are they able to provide the services when they are not increasing teacher salaries or even benefits? That is the big question. How are they doing? How should they do it? How should they continue to provide these services with rising cost? We'll take a break. When we come back, I'll get to read some more messages and get the phone lines up for you to have a conversation with me. My name is Jude. This is Hello Port Harcourt. past the hour of 9 this wonderful Monday morning. Well, it is mostly sunny skies to be expected in parts of Port Harcourt today. Temperatures of between 26 to 28 degrees centigrade should be expected. So it's promising to be a hot day in these parts. And let me be very honest. I think over the weekend, I think was it on Saturday? Was it on Sunday? Yesterday, the heat was serious. It was searing into my skin. Like, what? Are we getting close to hammer time? Well, only time will tell. But yes, we are in November, the 4th day of November. Now, let's get to our conversation starter this morning. And we're looking at the rising cost of things in this country and how it's affecting, or how it could affect, service delivery, particularly in the educational sector. Now, we're looking at Port Harcourt since we are in Port Harcourt. And forgive me if you're listening to us from any part of the country. This may also, fit in, or it may just also apply in your place, because, everybody's complaining about the cost of Gary. Now, let me read. This is from the Vanguard newspaper. Let me read this story for you. It's very similar to what we're talking about. Now, Professor Kayode Ijadunla, the Vice Chancellor of Elizade University, Ondo State, has sounded the alarm over the rising energy costs, which he says threatens the sustainability of Nigeria's universities by 2025. Now, speaking at the press briefing, he said that the recent hikes in energy bills, especially from transitioning to the Band A electricity billing system. Remember, I mentioned that some of these schools, right, they are usually prioritized because of the amount of work being done. In this case, we're talking about tertiary institutions. You know that there should be labs there. For example, now I'm going to use Uniport as my case study, and you know that there is a tertiary health center there. That's the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. That place needs power as regular as it possibly can be, 24 hours on a daily. But if you remember, about 2 years ago, there was this big uproar from patients from that hospital, people who visited the hospital, who were complaining about the lack of power. Power affected the lifts, power distribution. It was affecting everything. And it's not the first time, right, that we have read comments about it. I'm not focusing on Uniport now, but we've heard of stories in this country, sadly, to say this, of people saying, oh, look, they were in the theater, or they had a friend or a family member in the theater, and during the course of that procedure, whatever it was, the power went out 3, 4, 5 times. In some places, because of that fear, people would go to a private institution, to a private hospital to carry out that procedure, because obviously there's a standby generator. But let me shock you. Now, even those private hospitals, I had my teeth cleaned late last year. Whilst we were in the process of the scaling and polishing, the power went out. Not public power, the generator. In under 30 minutes. We have called somebody. We have called the person who is supplying this is on his way. We called this in his morning. He said, hold up, delayed him. This was at 10 a.m. in the morning. So we had to wait. And true to word, yes, the person who supplies the diesel did come. But the point here is, why did he have to go off in the first case? And the reason is the cost. They couldn't afford, the hospital I was in, they couldn't afford to keep their tanks full as they used to. But now, let's come back to Port Harcourt. Let's come back to the educational sector. Call it state university, federal university, private university. All of these places need power. All of these places, right, are feeling the brunt of the inflation. All of these places have one thing in common. They are raising the future leaders of Nigeria. The question is, how are they able to do so? How should they do so with rising costs?
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeriainfo FM. Nigeriainfo, let's talk.
With Jude on 92.3 Nigeriainfo.
017-923-0002, 0817923-0003, 0817923-0002, 0817923-0003. WhatsApp is 08090306416, 08090306416. At Nigeriainfo PH, at Nigeriainfo PH is where you'll find us on Facebook and on X at Nigeriainfo PH, at Nigeriainfo PH. As always, please do well. Turn down the volume of your radio set. Refrain from making derogatory or defamatory comments. If you didn't see or hear, please do not make reference of it and keep your conversations civil. All right, so now let me read this excerpt once again from the Vanguard newspapers. Please, I'll get to your message, please. I would like to get 2, 3, or 4 at once. So let me just read this as we continue on our conversation. Now, I'll read you from the Vanguard newspaper, where Professor Kayode, the Vice Chancellor of Elizabeth University, was complaining about the rising costs of power. You know, that it's becoming a problem. Right now, he goes on to say that even the Japa trend, where young Nigerian professionals and graduates migrate abroad in search of better opportunities, is also affecting the push because of the rising costs, is getting people to move. So, in essence, they are finding it difficult. I don't know how many of you have thought about this, but some schools, if not all schools right at the moment, are finding it difficult, one, to attract quality personnel. You want people who have, great degrees, who are well trained, who have, maybe 2 or 3 years experience, to come into your school, into your institution and impart knowledge on your students. I'm looking at in universities now, also in secondary schools. But because of the Japa trend, you are having more people go out. It's not new news. We've had conversations about it. So imagine a scenario where even universities, not even hospitals now, universities are having a tough time holding on to their senior lecturers, to their HODs, to their deans, to their professors. What do you think is going to happen to the quality of education that your sons, your daughters are going to have in the coming, year or two? Because we're seeing the effect right now. We're already seeing the effect right now. I shared with you a story of a secondary school teacher who has to go to different places to carry extra classes 5 days a week. Goes to 3. That's after school. 2:00 she's done. She moves, goes to another place, teaches for an hour and a half. She's done. By 4 she moves again. By 5:36 she's done. She goes again. Ends at 7:30 before going home. Every day. Every day. How do you think that's affecting the productivity, the quality of work that she's churning out? Like I said, it is a genuine cause for concern. 017-923-0002, 017-923-0003, 017-923-0002, 017-923-0003. At Nigeriainfo PH, at Nigeriainfo PH is where you find us on Facebook and on X, at Nigeriainfo PH, at Nigeriainfo PH. All right, Jennifer here says, good morning. I am a teacher and I can tell you for free, it's not easy on us, the teachers, particularly those who are in private schools. Some people have good salaries, but even those salaries are not enough. How much do you use to take yourself to work or even fuel your car or take care of your own children? It's getting to the point where people are actually leaving the teaching profession or getting something else. I have something I'm doing to augment my salary, but it's still not enough. The government should help us. The government should help us. Okay. So how do they do it? What do they do? Ola is in the Ola, good morning to you.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, I think we wasted a lot of opportunity in time past. Not talking about the government aspect of it. That one has been a failure from day one. Talking about individually. Now, if I ask you now, dude, how much have you spent from January to date? You will see that money no day, you have spent more than ₦1 million.
I will agree with you.
Almost 3 million naira.
I will agree with you on that one.
Yes, but then if we are looking at our needs and cutting down excesses, trying to manage ourselves, but now we will be able to save up to 1 million plus. If we are saving 1,000 naira every day, if I want to solve the problem of power in my house now, all I have to do is think of how I can save at least 1,000 naira every day.
But what about Ola? That's on the personal level.
I know how much that would have led.
Ola,
2,000 every day.
Ola,
now, it depends on the facilities you want to power. There are many ways of sourcing of power. I was watching the channel on social media and I saw a man in Bayelsa using water to generate power in his house.
Okay.
You can also use the sun, but the point is that we are waiting for the government to do everything.
But Ola, you are talking from a personal point. What about the schools themselves, the proprietors, those people that have institutions? How should they provide the services with rising costs?
Now, looking at I don't talk about the government schools. So that one is as good as the foundation of the government themselves. Nobody's serious about it. Now, the private schools themselves should not have issue with power. They don't even need the diesel generator that they'll be claiming that they're spending much on diesel and so on. They can source their power from the sun. I know some government schools that their laboratory don't depend on NEPA or generator. They use their solar to power their laboratory because of the facilities inside there. And when they want to do their practicals, they need light, but they cannot get it when they want. So because of that, they're invested in it. Now, what are the PTAs doing? Now, you see the PTAs of primary school always come together when they want to do inter-house sports or extramural lessons where they can get money from the pupils. But they're not thinking of other aspects that they can help. Now, I don't know if there are teachers listening to us or anybody that belongs to the Parents Teacher Association in any...
Ola, if you can, please call back. I was enjoying having a conversation with you. So, Ola is saying that, look, for private schools, for private entities, we shouldn't be waiting for the government to do anything to fix the power situation and all that, and you don't need generators. He's saying, look, basically, have your inverter systems. But, Ola, I don't know if you've stepped into the market space recently. I have. In fact, my device is not here. I think I've mentioned this before. To get a system that's an inverter system with the solar panels and the batteries and the inverter itself that would power a home that probably has a fridge, a deep freezer, a television or 2 television sets, fans, light bulbs, and let's say 1 air conditioner, right? It's going to cost you just about 5 million naira, right? Now, I'm using it as a reference point because if we put that same system, or that's about the same system that some schools would need to power a lab. I know the what they call them, the microscopes they use these days are electronic. Those have microscopes. You want to have PowerPoint presentation, right? You need your camera, you need your board, you need your projector. That needs power. So this is me just assuming that system, that rigged system that I just talked about, that will give you that will cost you about 5 million naira, is what is going to be needed. How many secondary schools can afford that? I'm not saying that there are none. I do know that there are some secondary schools in Port Harcourt that actually have that kind of system. But how many are there? Ola makes a great point. Don't get me wrong. But even the cost of transitioning doesn't come cheap. The proprietors have to find the monies. And then let us look at those private institutions where they are paying their teachers, to come and stay for extra lessons. Like I said earlier on, when a teacher has to go to 3 or 4 other places after work, is that teacher going to be able to focus on a particular child in his or her class that has a problem, that is struggling with the coursework? And this is secondary school. Imagine what's happening in the universities. Oh, school, we are paying school fees. There's no light. They don't put on the generator. Look at the water place. We don't have this. We don't have that. But the schools, the authorities themselves are saying, we are struggling to pay. We're struggling. 017-923-0002, 017-923-0007. WhatsApp is 0809-030-6416. Charles is on the line from Rumi Bekwe. Charles, good morning to you.
Jude.
Good morning.
Jude, I just want to highlight on one sector, housing. We have a Ministry of Housing, federal. I want to believe we have in the state. China has a population of 1.34 billion. As we speak today, China has a surplus of over 60% housing.
Oh, really? Wow.
Nigeria has what? No surplus, no deficit. And yet, we have a Ministry of Housing. The government talked about affordable housing. And yet, provide the affordable housing for the citizenry. You have the Federal Mortgage Bank that was set up for what purpose? What is going on?
Okay, so Charles, let me ask you. So if we just suppose this housing thing now to the education sector, which is what we're talking about, rising costs. Like I said, I don't know if you started the conversation. The student was complaining about, just running his house and all of that. And you have a great point. Most of the students that we have around here don't have free housing in schools, particularly university. They have to always pay for self-contained. And I hear it's 250,000 naira in some places. So how can the school provide education when people don't have a place to stay?
And that is where they say government agencies should work hand in hand. Where our university students have issues with accommodation, how do you expect them to be productive? The Ministry of Housing, Ministry of Education, you work hand in hand to provide this for the students. You provide it for them. It's a big plus for the students and the institutions. The institutions can't do it alone. My brother, government has a massive role to play in the life of its citizens. The young man who spoke earlier, he made a perfect submission. But to be honest with you, owners of private schools, yes, they can source funds from the bank. But another question you ask again is this: are banks themselves, are they properly run the way it should be done according to best international practices? Jude, you want to go to the bank today, but the thought of the kind of interest rate you have to pay will send you back to where you're coming from.
I hear in double digits these days.
But it doesn't make sense. If not for time, I want to explain something about how this basketball teams and NFL teams in the U.S. are making their money, how their owners are making their money. But for lack of time, maybe when you have a topic like this in a future program, I could say to you.
So, in essence, now, what can be done? Because, like I said earlier on, universities are complaining about the strain of the cost of power just to provide power for their students to teach. Secondary schools are complaining that, look, we don't have money to be putting on gen every single time. We can't even transport our teachers, those who have school buses. And then teachers themselves are complaining. So the quality of education is obviously affected. So how do they provide these services with this inflation?
I would say call government again. You see, if you can't generate the conventional electricity, what about windmill?
Windmill.
Yes. Dude, some years ago in Chile, The Chilean government provided solar for its citizenry. It started outside Santiago. That's the capital of Chile.
Mm.
And what's the population of Chile, for crying out loud? The government should sit up and live up to its responsibility.
All right, Charles. Thank you very much, Charles from Rumbekwe. Okay, we have an anonymous caller. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Jude.
Good morning, please.
You are very much concerned about the lack of accommodation in the school system, particularly in our universities, and most scholars are equally concerned. But, Jude, have you asked yourself if the students are concerned?
Well, they seem to be concerned because they're complaining about paying 250,000 naira. Some places I hear even 500,000.
Jude, if they are concerned, their unions have not demonstrated that they are concerned.
Ah, I see.
Not to my knowledge, and I think also that you have not known the Nigerian students to be this vibrant and agitative about their needs. Just a while ago, the SANU secretary was in the studio telling you the ordeals they are passed through, all because
they want to provide service.
Yeah, properly funded. ASU members have suffered untold hardship just because of their quest to fix the university system. But the students who are the major beneficiaries of all of these struggles are those high. And it surprised me, you.
They may be on the street. Look at
you think that 4 years is going to be 4 years for the students? Or my take is that the students should really make the government know that they need accommodations. It's not for the lecturers, it's not for the university management to begin to, always intervene for them. They show that the Nigerian government will know of their plight.
Now, the gist, the feedback I'm getting, which is why we're having this conversation, is that even the schools themselves, whether it's state, federal, are complaining that, look, they have to pay for power. Power on Band A is huge. They have to pay for security. The staff are complaining that you've not increased salary. Lecturers are complaining. Non-academic staff are complaining. All of this because of inflation. How do you then expect them to give the best education to our students?
See, Jude, let me be honest to you. So to answer your question from this perspective, I've told any young person that cares to listen, for now, don't think of going to university. You see that money, go and learn and work. When you are stabilized, you can now start a part-time program if you are old. But after that, you can...
Right back. Hey!